It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear, no fear, no fear, no fear here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, each and every day from the beautiful studios of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com here in Phoenix, Arizona, IA. And we're still here. We had our meeting with the Phoenix police, and TSA called me, and she said, we're not coming. But we had plenty of police here, and we had a discussion how we're going to do this the day before Thanksgiving. What we're going to do is we're full up today with speakers, so we're going to do an extra segment at the end real quick, and we'll put it up in the archive, and we'll have it YouTubed, and we'll get the video and all the goodies and tell you what happened at our meeting today. We had the Students for Liberty here from ASU. They already have, like 70 people saying they're going to go, and I think they were surprised by that. Doesn't even count. Lord knows how many people are going to go with their face painted blue and their kilts and their firearms and their T-shirts and their signs. And how are we going to deal with that? Has everybody got an ID? What are we going to do? Oh, well, we got it all discussed, so we'll talk about that later. But for today, we have some great guests for you. We got Butler Schaefer, then we got Lawrence Reed from Foundation for Economic Education, and we got Stephen Molyneux from Toronto, and then Mark Hinkle, the national chairman of the Libertarian Party. And this TSA thing's been going stupid, but you know, I think Butler Schaefer, he's coming to the Freedom Summit, freedomsummit.com, and you go there and you get all the goodies on the Freedom Summit, and those listeners pay no attention to the gazillion-dollar fee because you get in for $175. You just do the student package because we love you. And, you know, Butler, I got you there. Are you going to be flying in or you driving?
I think I'm going to hitchhike. You know, the way all this goofy stuff is going with the airports, it's almost like something you could dream up as a comic routine. It's just too bad George Carlin isn't still around. I think he would have a field day with this stuff.
You know, it's already hitting. I was watching DVR, the Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and the Colbert Report with Stephen Colbert, and they are hammering on this TSA thing. And it's entertaining and it's sad. And this is going to get stupid. And I tell you, our meeting today, I think they just finally got an idea of what they're contending with, and they're not going to be running this show. And it's really Sky Harbor is their slogan is the friendliest airport in the world, and so on. We want to try and keep it that way.
I bet they're friendly. Yeah.
We'll see.
Than you want.
Well, you know, this whole thing that's going on, I mean, what's your perspective on this? I mean, you're a law professor, Southwestern University in Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And has this stuff come up in your classes yet? Have you been talking about it?
Oh, it comes up more in the hallways and so forth than it does in classes on constitutional law and so forth. But my thought on this is that this has nothing to do with terrorism per se. That's the rationale, the excuse that's given for all this stuff. But it's mainly to keep people in a state of constant humiliation. And the governments need that, particularly in times when the state is undergoing some major crisis. You know, they have to be able to, like the playground bully, have to be able to amass a tremendous amount of arbitrary force against people to keep them in line. And I think that's really what's going on. It's kind of like, the Salem witch trials were not really designed to ferret out witches, but to solidify the political authority in Salem for reasons that had a lot to do with the history going on in England at the time. But the same thing with the Cold War, the search for communists that were lying under your bed or in your wastebasket or hiding behind the refrigerator and so forth, was designed more to keep people in kind of a herd-oriented kind of a mindset. And I think this is the same thing that's going on here. What I find amusing, and I've talked with my wife, Jane, about this a number of times, when this whole thing really starts to fall apart, and it has been. I mean, everything from secession movements to nullification movements and everything else. When it really starts to fall apart, the thing that's going to trigger the final the final collapse, if you want to call it that, is going to be something goofy. It's going to be something like this, and I wouldn't have anticipated it would be that. You'd think it has something to do with the war or with high taxes or the Depression or something like that. And instead, it's all about these federal bureaucrats that have this penchant for groping people.
Well, why? I mean, what is the reasoning behind them wanting to cause this kind of animosity towards, I mean, is it just to sell scanners? I mean, seriously. I mean, the more I find out, Michael Chertoff was the Homeland Security guy, and now he's the main lobbyist, the head face of this scanner company. And I'm going, is it that simple? They just want to make money at our expense?
No, there's something. I mean, there are a lot of people who do. There are a lot of the corporations that have figured out ways to profit nicely from all of the war on terror and so forth. But it's really more a need to keep people in a sense of humiliation, if you will, of domination. You saw it in Nazi Germany, for example. I remember seeing a photograph, there are lots of photographs, but one in particular of some German army officers just standing there with leering looks on their faces as a whole bunch of naked women prisoners ran by them. And I thought, these are the ancestors of TSA. These are the people doing their own version of full-body scanning. And it doesn't change. If you keep people humiliated, you lose their sense of individuality. This is something I think people really need to go back and reread Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl was a prisoner in 2 Nazi concentration camps. I think Auschwitz was one, and I've forgotten the other one. But he survived it, and he pointed out, the way in which the people who survived it were people who had a very strong sense of reality, who had their own sense of centeredness, and who didn't let other people define reality for them. And I think this is something that, all of us have always needed to do. This has been the big theme of my writing ever, for 50 or some odd years.
Well, what is the reality? I mean, our reality is what? Our reality is that we're going to have to prepare for what? I mean, that was one of the points that I brought up with the officers here, and I go, look, you need to have the people on your side. We need you on our side, because as the economy starts to go down the tubes and bad things start happening, it's going to be very difficult for you guys to do your job, and you're going to need our support. So we want to help make sure that the Phoenix Police Department is seen as defenders of our rights. And what we're looking for is the right to complain. I go, where are we going to be able to complain? Are we going to be able, think about this. Yesterday, they just came up with the idea of wearing kilts. And a G-string or nothing. And, okay, I opt out. You want to search me and run your hand slowly up my inner thigh? Well, man, you get what you get. So, that is of interest. And I'm going to, how are you guys going to deal with this? And what are we going to expect from you when people go with sidearms? Because it's legal here in the airport in Arizona. How are we going to deal with this? All these things came into play today, and we're going to talk about it more with somebody that should know. A constitutional law professor at Southwestern University in Los Angeles, Butler Schaefer. We'll be right back here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock from Phoenix, Arizona.